Welcome back. You know, we spent a lot of time on this program talking about cyberbullying and how the internet has become a tool here that has ruined lives here, both obviously by the victim, but even with perpetrators. Well, one New Jersey lawmaker thinks that maybe there's a way to undo some of the damage. She has drafted a bill that would force online companies, websites, social media, other related companies, to give kids access to a delete button that would completely remove that item from the web. State Senator Shirley Hunter said the teens, exercise poor judgment sometimes. They say things or do things they quickly regret and wish they haven't done them or said them. This is one way for them to hit the delete button. Sounds good, but there are a lot of practical questions, like, is the delete button really possible? What happens if the material that was posted migrates from the original site to somewhere else, and questions of ownership? After all, anything posted to Facebook or other websites becomes the property of the site, not the person. And there's a more practical level, which is, I think finally, and you deal with the kids, there is an awareness growing that there is consequences to actions on this platform. Doesn't matter if you're home from school and you do this, you torment some kid here. There's a punishment that could follow you for the rest of your lives. Part of me, while I understood youthful indiscretions, we make mistakes, but if we create some mitigating factor here where sometimes it'll count, sometimes it won't, I think it's really hard to get through. And I've spoken to a lot of people whose field this is, who have gone into painstaking detail to torment that some of this stuff is happening to children. How do you mitigate that? They're still young minds, still not fully formed, but still doing really damaging stuff here. And to give it kind of a reset button only confuses the subject.
If you don't have a reset button, then you're basically saying, without saying the words, we have zero tolerance for this. Even in our criminal justice system, we say that children generally 16 and under, what they have done, we seal the records. You know, we're now going to say, this is like in medicine where we find advances, but the ethics don't keep up with the advances. It's the same way with the technology. We haven't really come up. We are feeling our way through. We have the bullying crisis. Yep. We have all of this on the internet. I deal with children who change all the time. I see the difference between a 9th grader and a 12th grader.
How do you deal with this situation where kids leave school property and they'll either target a kid, misinformation, show pictures, whatever, and they, in a course of a day, can ruin a kid's life?
Right, but look at what you're asking.
No, but what do you do about that
You're asking
situation?
The school to go into the home, you know, to say that even after you leave here, at the end of the day, we're still going to be responsible for what you do on the internet. What do I do?
Okay, parent knocks on Ron Ross's door and says, my daughter is being tormented here. What are you going to do about it? We
bring in both sets of parents, as we normally do. We sit down with the kids, and if something even serious, we involve the police to sit down with them and say, you know, look at where your life is going. You know, you don't want to do this. And I have yet to find in a case, and I've had several over the last year and a half, where that didn't stop the situation. You got to remember, these are still children. They make mistakes. It's the same reason.
What I think you just said, this is kind of no man's land where there's no rules, no laws. You kind of have to be Solomon to figure out when to call the cops, when not to, right?
Absolutely. It's a judgment thing. There is no real textbook on this yet of what to do. But I come back to the thing, I deal with young people. They make mistakes, even at your age in college. You find binge drinking,
I thought you meant my age, me.
No, I meant,
I was going to say yes, Ron, yes.
I meant the students that come to our colleges have problems.
Now I'm going to say what's one, Ralph. Andrew, hypothetically, you got a kid who, God forbid, is the target of this.
God forbid I have a kid.
I was going to say.
Yeah, and take that in many ways. But no, the kid's the target of this. Do you want to hear, never mind, we'll have a delete button and it'll kind of go away from, theoretically here, the public record, but it still is out there?
I mean, you're always going to side on whichever side of the divide your kid is on. If your kid is the one who's posted something inappropriate, you want there to be a delete button so you can take it all back. If you're the one who's being harmed by something that's been posted, then you want the other kid to have the delete button. You want action to be taken against those other kids. It's, you know, it's interesting. The superintendent said, and he made the distinction that, this is almost a conversation about your permanent record. This is going to go on your permanent record, but it doesn't really happen in schools, and it doesn't even happen in courts or with the police. But those are public institutions. This is private commerce, the internet. We're talking about corporate law. So there is no do-over, there is no wipe it clean, there is no way to make it just a juvenile file and have it locked away when you turn 18. It doesn't work that way.
Maybe it's not a fair analogy, but a lot of this stuff comes under the guidelines of hate speech. Kid off school grounds decides to put a swastika on a wall here, whether he or she really understands it or not, he or she's caused damage. And I'm not one of these guys throw away the key on some kids, okay, I get it. But there's got to be some punishment or some culpability more than just paint it over and it never happened. And in effect, that's what a delete button says.
Well, I support seriously what the superintendent just said. You bring both sets of kids in, and if you don't listen to what the superintendent says, we're going to involve the police, and they're going to take it another step. But where I'm a little confused with this entire debate, because technology is already going that way of a delete button, because most of the sites have a button where you can remove immediately what right now, Facebook, Twitter, you can remove immediately what you just posted.
But
I'm a little confused.
The viral nature of something, the once you put it out there, you may want to delete it, but there is a trace of it if somebody wants to.
Right.
There's always an echo of it, and if you're tweeting something out, even if you delete something that you tweet out, if I've seen the first thing, I can pull it, I can make a screen grab of it.
And I learned something from my teenager, I have to say, that they use Snapchat, which I've never used, but you send it and it blows up essentially after you send it. Now I'm sure there's technically a way to save it, but that's what a lot of the kids use today. Like I know
these were the kids, these 20-some-year-olds who turned down the $3 billion offer, right?
Yes,
right.
yes.
That's right, absolutely. And I had never heard of it, but a lot of my kids, my own kids' friends don't use Facebook anymore because they don't trust it. But what they do use are things like Snapchat, where they have that, it's a little scary for parents because what are they sending?
The companies still have it, even if it goes away from your phone.
Absolutely, yeah.
Ron, before I let you go, last question. You've been at this for a while. I'm not going to date you.
I have no problem with it.
Is it tougher now being an educator and a supervisor than it was 20, 30 years ago?
Oh, please, even 10 years ago. I mean, when I started out in New York City, the superintendent was a semi-guard, and we only had to worry about grades. Now, you're asking me to worry about what the kid did at home, on the weekend, on the internet. Do they have enough food? Do they have head lice? Do they have books? Can they do this? I'm worried about kids.
Parents less involved?
I say yes, because now we see more two-family, both working, because of the economy.
Yep.
That's changed over the last 10 years. We are trying to do things we've never done before. We're educating kids who have come to this country who may be semi-literate or illiterate in their own native language. And in New York, we are absurd enough to say, in 2 years, you're going to have to pass the English Regents. Now we have this Common Core.
Now count on your numbers, yeah.
where we say you're a special ed, so we already know you can't pass it. You are English as a second language, so now we're going to make you feel bad, and now we're going to make everybody go to college, when everybody, I'll say it again, shouldn't go to college, doesn't have to go to college, and really there's no need for them to go to college. Now please send in, oh, did my kids go to college? Yes.
We will take a quick break here, but Mr. Ross, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Terrific stuff here. All right, we'll be right back. More RFL right after this.